Hello and welcome. The NBA offseason has come to a grinding halt after the Rudy Gobert overpay and the current Kevin Durant asking price. So let's take this time to have a look at the Brooklyn Nets offseason, how it currently stands, the moves that have been made. Let's have a look at it all today. Let's begin with departures. We've got Goran Dragic, Andre Drummond and Bruce Brown all finding their way to new ball clubs. LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin, after hitting free agency, have not found any new teams after there's no takers for them. My thoughts on this are devastated with the loss of Bruce Brown. It's been remarkable to see his rise. Under a year ago, defenders would leave him wide open for three. He couldn't even crack Steve Nash's rotation. That to playing significant playoff minutes as a starter and arguably performing the best, and definitely the most consistently out of anyone on the entire roster in the playoffs. Andre Drummond was good for rebounds, putbacks, and some display of passing, but with certain matchups he gets absolutely spit roasted, especially defending dribble drives on the switch, and you can't blame him. He also shoots barely better than half of his shots at the line, and given Claxton couldn't buy a bucket from there in the playoffs, let's not add to the problem, shall we? Dragic, not much to say, had some good games, reliable ball handler, but our team's already small enough, and where his strengths lie, we already address those through other players. Griffin, I'd say still probably had a part to play on this roster in the limited playoff action where he showed something, whilst Aldridge, although he loves a mid-range, he cannot laterally move for his life. Sensibly, I'm happy we part ways. Overall, I can't be too mad with who we've let go to this point, though the issue was always affording Bruce, yet the money he got at Denver we could have paid. And we didn't even have open conversation regarding a new deal. I'd assume he never had a grudge towards the organization, which makes this decision even more baffling given his performance across the season. We move forward to who's arrived. We begin with Royce O'Neal, who did have a down season regarding what he prides himself on, which is defense. Yet, we can't ignore the leaps and bounds he took in the season before that, and hope a reset at a new team does wonders for his play. An article in early 2021, when he was at the peak of his powers, states O'Neal fits the description to a T of a 3-and-D wing, having stretched it to exaggerated extremes. The same article states he makes up for it with strength, lightning quick and active hands, excellent footwork, and an aptitude for navigating around screens. He also has fantastic recovery speed, contests vertically when protecting the rim, and closes out well on shooters. On the offensive side, he excels in catch-and-shoot situations, takes smart shots, makes quick decisions on the catch, and is a solid passer. Losing a first-round pick in a trade for him is a regrettable offense, but doing so with the Kevin Durant news dropping around the same time ramps that up even more. He has 2 years remaining on a contract which he signed in the 2020-21 season, which amounted to 4 years, $36 million. Specifics aside, what does he bring through his gameplay? Standing at 6'4", 226 pounds as a small forward, he averaged 7.5 points, 4.8 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and 1.1 steals per game on 39% from the three-point line. All those stats from the season just gone by. He can defend 1 through 4 and has been a consistent three-point shooter across the course of his career. My verdict on this is whilst trading for a 29-year-old on the back of a down season is probably not a wise choice, with regards to team needs, I think Royce fits the bill. His best form captures a player who is team first and isn't afraid to sacrifice his own game to elevate the game of others. We also have TJ Warren, who last time he played was one of the form wings in the NBA. He was averaging 26.5 points and 6 rebounds in the bubble as a 3-level scorer. Since then, he has only managed to play 4 games in 2 seasons due to a stress fracture in his foot. Signed to a 1-year $2.6 million deal at the vet's minimum, it's a good buy. His 19.8 points, 4.2 rebounds and 1.5 assists on 54% from the field and 40% from deep were stats that can be attributed to his last season, a season where he played the most games he's ever done in a season. If that's anything to go off, he will bring versatility as to where he plays, he can be involved in off-ball actions, and have plays run through him. He can shoot the ball well at all 3 levels, with a floater game, a good pick-and-roll game, and strength on the inside. Standing 6'8" and spacing the floor, whilst also being able to put the ball on the floor, this is something we've been crying out for structurally. A recent article has highlighted that, from a basketball standpoint, there is mostly just nitpicking that can be done when analysing the limitations in Warren's skill set. He's improved his weaknesses as a shooter in such a way that he now has a rare all-around scoring impact, both as an initiator and as an off-ball threat. On the cheap, this is an intelligent move if he can recapture his form. Obviously, I don't expect him to crack 26 a game again, but if he can average a steady 15 points, something which Malik Monk did on similar money, it's going to help us and limit the chances of games where it feels like it's just KD and Kyrie versus the world. The Nets also took a flyer on Edmund Sumner, who sat the entire last season to recover from an Achilles injury. He signed a 2-year, $4.2 million value deal that is partially guaranteed. He plays as a combo guard, standing at 6'4" and 196 pounds. The year before injury, he averaged 7.5 points, 52.5% from the field, and 40% from 3, numbers which saw him get an increased role with Indiana. He's known to be a speedy, athletic, transition player and cutter, who's not afraid to go downhill and has good craft on the inside. The 2019 article captured this perfectly, talking about his form at Fort Wayne in the G League. It reads, "His gaudy stat lines and jaw-dropping highlights don't lack for substance either. He started meshing skilled finesse with his unbridled athleticism. No longer a raw ball of energy setting course for the rim like a meteor hurling towards Earth, Sumner has shown an improved knack for slithering around defenders in traffic with bounding Euro steps." Whilst the NBA wasn't subjected to this until a year later, he has shown the ability at the level. Whilst I don't think his role will be substantial, probably not ever exceeding 20 minutes a night, I think he could bring something different to the guard rotation we possess, and has the capability to hold a large role should he need to embrace the next man up mentality. Another sensible, cheap move. Regarding other free agents who return to our franchise, Patty Mills, Nicholas Claxton, and Kessler Edwards have all recommitted to the team. Patty Mills tested free agency as an unrestricted free agent before returning for 2 years on a $14.5 million deal. Claxton returns having signed a 2-year, $17.3 million deal, a deal that will be an underpay if he can make a leap, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Kessler Edwards also signed a 2-year, $3.6 million deal, which involves a team option. He was an unrestricted free agent, but the Nets always indicated their intentions for him to return. David Duke Jr. was offered a 2-way qualifying offer, but decided to test the market as a restricted free agent to try play his way onto the Nets roster with the standard deal. 2-way deal has also been carried out with Alondas Williams, a guard out of Wake Forest. Not much to be said from this standpoint, but as a developmental project, who knows if it'll become something more. This is what our current depth chart looks like. In my opinion, this is how we'll roll out. Simmons, Thomas, Mills at the point, Irving, Curry, Sumner at the 2, Harris, O'Neal, Edwards, and Durant and Warren occupying the wing spots, and Claxton and Sharp manning the middle. Williams will play G League. Staring at this, we have to run it back. It's highly dependent on whether the dudes with a recent injury history can stay healthy, but if so, you're currently staring at a deep roster. We would need to strengthen possibly with one more defensive wing and a stretch big to fill the final 2 spots to fill needs. Seeing Mills and Sumner as third stringers, that's a positive sign, giving us insurance if there hypothetically is injury issues, which we all know too well. There's also a great level of flexibility. Warren can play both forward spots. O'Neal can guard bigger than his height would suggest. Kyrie can play off-ball with Simmons as distributor, and you can do something similar with Irving and Thomas. We can have Durant and Kyrie surrounded by defensive monsters. Short would cook the spacing, but transition opportunities if we get stops, something that athletes like Simmons and Sumner and our endless list of shooters will thrive off. You know, they run to the corners and open up the lane for the drive. Last year I said the same thing about depth, and it turned out to be a load of crap, with deadwood like Johnson and Carter chucking up bricks all the time and making silly turnovers. Here, there's some recent proven contributors and some players who need to recapture their form. Overall, I don't understand how, drama aside, you can't look at this roster and really be intrigued about the ceiling of this team. What's there still to occur in the offseason? There still is currently roster spots available. David Duke Jr. averaged 19 points in the Summer League, so will he be the occupant of one of those spots? We also have the impending trade of Kevin Durant. Whether that goes ahead, I've got no clue, but personally, I would much prefer we hold him. Due to what I discussed with the depth chart, and the potential cohesion of that team regarding on-field product and how they complement one another. Kyrie Irving, whilst eligible for a trade, has supposedly made it clear he will play next year at Brooklyn regardless of circumstance. Glad to see there's a little bit more certainty on that front. We also have a mid-level exception available, which could come in clutch at some point in free agency to help strengthen our squad with team needs. The Nets have been a huge what-if ever since superstars made a transition over to Brooklyn. Here are some key questions for the upcoming year. First and foremost, will there be any drastic roster movement? My answer, please no big shakeups. What will Ben Simmons' return season look like? Hopefully he proves the haters wrong. Can the Nets stay healthy and hold continuity? We used a stupid amount of different lineups last season, so hopefully the answer is yes. Will Warren and Sumner regain pre-injury form? If so, this is going to be fun. Will Steve Nash last the season? Personally, I don't think he's the right dude to help us take a leap, but obviously Sean Marks has other ideas. And will Joe Harris remain a Net? Time and time again, treated as a trade piece and more recently a salary dump, he's a token of our ascension from hell. I'd be hurt if he got offloaded. Then again, the NBA is a business. It's now time for what you clicked for, the grade. I'm currently going to give the Nets for their offseason a B+. I think as it currently stands, this team is much better positioned than last year. There's more size, there's low risk, high reward players there's more athleticism, and I think this team could be really fun to watch. Overall, we feel more complete. Hopefully the younger players develop and flourish to aid this progression. Having said that, there is a lot of uncertainty around the two centerpieces of our roster in KD and Kyrie Irving. A singular move involving one of those two at the minimum will change my outlook on the offseason entirely. The handling of the situation has been messy, and that has placed us in an unnecessary and perilous position, given how some previous trade outcomes have turned out. Drop a like and subscribe. There's plenty of Brooklyn Nets content on the way, and I want a little Nets community to be built for the upcoming season, especially for the watch-alongs that we're going to do for a lot of the games. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.